Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. As always, my name is Mr. Ali with a real story coming to you from the ZMC TV network. And today we are talking about agents in football, a dichotomy. It's a debate that's been going on for many decades now as to why agents haven't been successful the black players have in breaking through the barriers of professional football. And there have been many stereotypes of and excuses being labelled at Asian players. You know, we don't like the physicality, we don't like the cold weather, we're not integrating enough in order for us to break the barriers. You know, we as the chairman of the FA said, you know, we see football and other sports as merely sports for activity and for fun. We don't see it as a real career option as well. So that is what we are discussing. So please do get in touch and put your comments on, and then my studio manager will put them on to the bottom and we will read them out and get Jazz, who's my guest from the Birmingham County FA, to address those. But before we do that, as always, I'd like to start off my show just giving us an indication of how we are doing with the local figures for COVID. And unfortunately, the upward trend continues across the West Midlands, whereby we have now seen an extra 36 cases compared to the previous week. So the message of hands, face and space must continue over the next few weeks if we are to come out of lockdown on the 2nd of December. And also if we are going to be celebrating Christmas this year as well. So that's the message from me as always. So let's get to today's topic. So I have Jazz, who is the representative from the FA County here in West Midlands, to come and help me navigate today's show. Why aren't Asians breaking this barrier of football, whether it's semi-professional or whether it is professional elite sport? And so far, the Premier League has been going on now for in excess of around 30 years. And to date, there have been only four British-born Asian players that have appeared at a Premier League level, and that is absolutely just very embarrassing, very shameful for us to be quoting those figures. And as a community, we are representative around about 4 or 5% of the overall British community. In fact, the fact that we've only had four players to represent us at that elite level just shows that there's a lot to be done around this work as well. And as you know, Greg Clark, who was the FA chairman, has unfortunately once again showed that the elite, the hierarchy of the FA, have some subconscious bias. They have to do some diversity training, because unfortunately the language, which has real powerful impact on people, unfortunately that was a lot left to be desired when he appeared at a scrutiny committee. So today we have Jazz, who's come to help me talk about this show. Thank you, Jazz, for taking time out. I know you have had a busy day, if not a few weeks. But thank you for really scheduling. It just shows, you know, how much importance that you are putting in order to come on a Thursday afternoon. So welcome to ZMC and to talk about Asians and football. Before we talk about, you know, in terms of inclusivity and diversity, it has been tough going for those youngsters that are playing football. We're talking about boys, girls, disabled children, that really, really put a lot of importance on exercise, on sport, but in particular football. And because of the FA and the government rules, it's been a bit of a stop-start, season in terms of football at the moment because of lockdown. We know how important it is going outside, playing football, running, getting that fresh air on, the mental health, on the physical aspect, but we aren't able to play any kind of structured or any kind of league football. So, it has been tough going on the players, the coaches, on the grassroots academies. What's the overall consensus with regards to COVID and football?
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. Yeah, it's a pleasure. And great to speak about the passion that I have, particularly around Asians in football, but also around the wider, strange but bizarre times as well since March the 16th. I was on unannounced safeguarding visit, and I remember the kids just
Yeah.
coming out. I'm trying to find out exactly what's going on. All of a sudden, Boris announced his thing and mentioned around COVID, and we were on a lockdown. So since then, we've returned back to play, and then now we're pretty much back at home. So it has been strange particularly for participants, but also as ourselves as key officers overseeing football, particularly around the West Midlands area. What's the overall picture? In terms of Birmingham itself, we've been lucky because we've made a announcement around investing into clubs. So we understand that the finances isn't great, and no return investment has been made much. So if you look at affiliated clubs, we're pretty much there or thereabouts due to the fact that it has been free affiliation. So there's been no costs apart from the fact that they pay personal accident, which is covered in insurance. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get back to return of play. Who knows when that will be? But it's great to see clubs and also coaching companies being so creative about their play and attracting the audience, whether it is around online or it's utilising technology as a whole to engage. But particularly with the more work that I do with around disability, it has been really, really difficult. A number of individuals and groups prefer routine, and that's certainly changed itself now. So going back to things, we just had to motivate and inspire them whenever that is around returns to play. We're in a good position to kind of bring fire into the belly again.
So before we get into some of the topics, I just want to talk about some of the children that we coach. As I run Jabs B8 FC, and some of the kids don't understand. The children, the players don't understand that we are allowed to go to school and take part in various activities, including sports, but we can't do it in a structured format with those affiliated to the FA or to those grassroots academy like Jabs, like Allen Rock Football Club. Why the discord between the elite level and the schools being able to deliver their services and their education and PE, but grassroots clubs can't.
It has been difficult with the decision. Unfortunately, I don't make those decisions. We can only control what we can
No,
control. But it has. So there's been some mixed messages around, particularly the boys' academy playing from Category 1. Now Category 2 and 3 can play, which has been announced last few days. But also girls' academies, so regional talent centres, have an opportunity to return back to play. So there has been no clear defined answer. However, it's been a pretty much, I would say, an ongoing journey. I'm involved with a grassroots club myself, based in Walsall, and it has been certainly strange times in terms of understanding players, why is the first team allowed to play, and we as grassroots players are unfortunately not allowed to play. So it's just trying to give them a slight education around.
Jazz, I've just got Anwar Khatak here, as you know, from BY. Yeah,
BYSA.
and he's just put a comment on there. Jazz is a lovely guy, top man. What he does on and off the pitch, disability football is very hard and rewarding. So a lot of positive comments towards yourself from Anwar Khatak. So just thought I'd read that out to you. But you also, I think, just emphasizes and highlights how much the young players really enjoy their football, and sometimes when you do it week in week out, as coaches and people that maybe at first hand, sometimes we may forget that. But I think this period of lockdown and COVID has just reinforced, certainly to myself, but it's not going to come as a surprise to us that are involved, that the work that we do is really valuable, and the players really appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly on behalf of the County FA Birmingham itself, we really appreciate the work that you do with Jabs and Anwar does at BYSA. Everyone around, particularly around up and down the country, doing a fantastic job, keeping players engaged, making sure that they are being creative or innovative, as I would say, keeping them going really, because the last thing we want is them to lose their love for the game. And our job is to ensure that we retain them and keep them
Absolutely.
in the game as much as possible.
Most definitely. Moving on now, I know you're not here to talk about this particular subject with regards to the recent resignation of the FA chairman, Lark, but I think, now that we have got you on, I am going to address it. I think it's about time we do bring it out into the open. And in terms of some of his, I would say, lazy rhetoric, some of his subconscious bias, and some of the language that he used around using or referring black players as coloured. The fact that he was saying that Asians aren't really prominent in football because they're more interested in careers like IT, and really using those stereotypical categorization to explain away some of the fantastic work that has been done with the FA, and also using the excuse of why girls aren't taking up more football, even though a huge amount of stride that has been done, because they don't like the football being hit hard at them. And I know, not that I want to make it into an Anwar Khatak show. I know he played it at a semi-professional level, and he also felt as though he had to try that 30 or 40% more than his white teammates in order to get to the first team. Someone who's actually at the FA, do you also feel? I know you maybe aren't able to sort of give your true feelings, but some of the older people that are ruling or controlling football, do you still see that there is a bit of the old generational view on race, or are things getting slowly better?
What I would say is that when I finished university in 2007, my dissertation was around why is there a lack of South Asian footballers. And we speak around barriers, culture, coaches and grassroots clubs not being qualified enough, and the stereotypes, the myths, the perceptions. That needs to change. Look, we're 20 years on now. We're talking about the same topic over and over again, and I'm sure people are getting bored. What I would say is that the people that are making change don't are pretty much the ones that got to understand. Look, they've got to make the change. Um, there's that thing where people think the FA with the FA inclusion, Asian inclusion plan. People got to read that and start thinking 99.9% is around grassroots football. And let's be honest, the people are thinking straight away. All they want to see is that Premier League star from a Southeast Asian background. So 0.1%. Look, let's be honest, we're not going to produce that player through the FA. What needs to happen is that action needs to be taken through the Premier League and the EFL. You only look at recently where the FA have said to the Premier League, we need an English quota. With that, I'm already thinking, actually, why don't we break that down and create that to say, look, you need 8 players within your team that are English, but also you need 4 which are from a underrepresented group. So there's real accountability and there's measure against everything. At the minute, we're kind of plucking data. We understand that there's a lack of Asians within the game. So across the 92, there's 10 out of 4,000 players. Look, we don't need stats to find out what's on TV or we're listening on radio or we're in the media. What we really need to do is make people accountable, but also there needs to be a real measure and plan of action.
I just
So
want to touch on some of those. So go on, Jess.
If the success is around that one player making it, what happens next after they make the Premier League? How long he's going to make it? Or also, it could be around the women's game. How long is she going to establish herself within the women's WSL, Women's Super League?
And if you look at the overall outcomes, we've only had about 4 British-born Asian players represent the Asian population from here at that elite Premier League level over the last 30 years. And that is simply just not good enough. And some of the points that you made in terms of that, the Indian, the Bengali, the Sri Lankans, the Pakistani, the Kashmiri, they are more into their cricket. Their diet doesn't lend to a bigger, tougher frame. They have a small stature. The parents are happy for them to be playing football and sports. They're more career into being doctors, engineers, architects, and so on. And then you talk about they're not integrating. This is another thing that they sort of accuse us. I know there's a lot of players are from a Muslim background, and as you know that we don't drink. So sometimes we may not go to the pub, and sometimes that could be a barrier. So I think it's about knowing, acknowledging these, and still having that inclusivity, making it approachable. For things are changing, but as you said, I've been playing football for a long time, and things haven't changed over the last 20 or 30 years. We've got people like yourselves involved in the FA. We've got Paul Elliott at a very high level. But the wheels are just turning far too slow. And what I do hope is before I go 6 foot under, I do want to see some of the young lads from Birmingham, from Bradford, from Leicester, from London, on a regular basis, like the black players have done, to play regularly in semi-professional and professional. Can you reassure me that I will go and see that vision before I go 6 foot under?
Wow, it's a big wish there for me to guarantee. Well, the key is that I'm involved, whether it's from a grassroots level, but also professional game. I certainly want to see it myself. I'm not here to make up a number. I'm here for a reason, and that is to see, hopefully one day, player playing, male or female, in the professional game at the highest level. But also, it's a case of look. Everybody knows progress is very slow. Saying words is too easy. We can criticize a lot of the time as well. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of fire in the belly from the great Clark itself. Fantastic. When I first got involved 20 years ago, there was probably one or two people saying a few things, but now certainly technology, for instance, social media has its platform in its own accord. So there's a lot of people coming out, whether that's existing players through Yandanda, previous players have come out of the game now, unfortunately, which is Maz Kahur from Warsaw. He spoke about his experiences when he was at Warsaw, and how he was treated. So not only he's trying to focus on his football point of view, but also he was having a mental and psychological battle himself. So he went through it really, really tough. We had a good chat ourselves as Maz. I spoke to him when he got involved and broke through to Warsaw. I said, get involved with the community, and he was really, really open to that. So I was very disappointed to see that now he's come out of the game due to the negative experiences that he's faced. But also, what I would say,
the Yazdanda one, Jazz. I read some of the reports. He said that he always felt that he had to try or give 20 or 30% more than some of his teammates in order to be picked, in order to get that first team, place guaranteed. And I think that's across the board, really. So we want the agents to obviously break into first team, and we want some of the black players who've done well and played for them to go on to manage some of these clubs as managers or even owners as well. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, isn't there, Jazz, yet?
Certainly, I think me and Jan was on a BBC One show last year speaking about the same topic, and we had a really good conversation about it. Look, being at the top is not easy as well. He certainly had challenges that he's faced as well. So whether he was from West Brom to go into Liverpool and then not having the lack of first team opportunities, he then decided that he's got to go to another club. Yeah. And even then, he's been in and out of the squad. So we want to see that the player go to the very top, but also there is certainly those challenges as well that they'll certainly face. So nothing smooth, I would say, in the journey. But the key for me is that we've got to make sure the people that are making decisions are accountable for their actions. Whether it is around academies, is it around Premier League, is it around the Football League Trust?
Sure. So would you? I'm a coach. Do you think that in this day and age, when everyone, irrespective of their background, should be treated equally and should be given the same opportunity? Do you think I should, let some of my, Pakistani, Indian, Bengali players know, Somalian players as well, know that they will have to face adversity, they will have to try that 20 or 30% more in order to secure a place to one of the elite academies, or in order for them to secure first level football. Do you think we should, as grassroots coaches, say that, or do you think that is something negative, and we should mentally get that fortitude with our young players?
It's difficult because players soak up a lot of learning. Um, so we've got to be mindful as to the words and terminology that we use.
Sure.
So certainly that can be a psychological factor in that sense. So we've got to just, what I would say is that when you're working with players, that you create that positive mindset, and they have that growth mindset as well. And anything is certainly possible. So we're very fortunate and lucky that we're in the game for a reason. And here we're here to create a service, and that service is to support our players. At the same time, we're trying to find out from grassroots clubs what's their local supporting networks looking like. I only heard recently, last few radio interviews myself, there's clubs out there ranting and raving about their lack of support working with professional academies. As we know in life, you have to go and sometimes go and meet that need and demand.
Absolutely.
Rather than waiting, you think it's going to fall on our plate. Life, unfortunately, doesn't work like that. What I would say is that lived experience myself, I'm working with a grassroots club myself, I'm looking around who are the professional clubs and how can I work with them. So they understand my players that we're working with, but also I understand them. And then if we get the ingredients right, then hopefully we're on a winning formula. But this is not an overnight fix. This is going to hopefully take a strategy that we've got in place for the next 10 years.
No, well said, Jazz. And you know what? The FA have done enormous amount of work, through Kick It Out, and a lot of the educational initiatives, a lot of police investigations in order to root out racism. But I was just looking at some statistics, Jazz, whereby the period from 2012 to 2017 and 18, there was a gradual decline in the number of incidents, certainly at the elite level, of racist incidents. However, since almost Brexit, I would say, since Brexit happened 17, 18, 19, 20, the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen a gradual increase. And from 2019 to 2020, there's actually been a 50% increase in the number of reported incidents of hate crime and racism as well. So do you is that something that you can sort of relate to, or is that something that you could maybe shed a bit more light on?
Yeah, what I would say around that is that one, particularly with the county phase and the FA, there's more transparency around how to report discrimination. So it's great that people are putting in confidence that there is either affected through them or through indirectly discrimination. So that's one. Two, let's be honest, football is just a vehicle of what we do. It's just a small part of life. So there's that wider agenda as well around society as well, and the environments that people are living in or attached to. So football could be the escape for them, which they release there, whatever it is. So sadly, that frustration can be, and aggression can be through football. We've seen it ourselves on a lower level through grassroots football when the referee blows a whistle. Some people turn into animals.
Yeah. I think what we are seeing is racism more prominent, and it's more outlandish at a grassroots level on a Sunday league rather than at the more established EFL or the Premier League. So I think that's something that a lot more work needs to be done, really. So I agree. So for those of you that are listening, watching, if you want to get your comments or your questions on, please type them in, and we will get them across to Jazz as well. So it's a unique opportunity for us to have someone from the FA at our disposal today. So please, for those of you that are watching, get your points, get your comments across, and we will do our best to get them across to Jazz. So I'm going to move the conversation on now in terms of getting more inclusivity. Before we touch on disability with the women's game, with girls, and over the last, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years, there's been real huge strides that have been made now in the women's game. Whereby you've got a lot more clubs that have been set up. I know a couple of years ago, Man United, who didn't previously have a women's team, they've now established a women's team. we're seeing, I know BYSA have got a girls team. We've set one up just before COVID, and that was really going strong. And there's a real thirst for young, Asian girls to take part in football. I coach it, from Island Rock, which is a very, conservative area. But once we gave them the right platform and the right environment where it was only girls, only football, no prying eyes, we had some real talent. And you know what? Some of these girls, are really talented, and just, I hope that this COVID wasn't there, because we could have carried on and leaped them. So generally, from your point of view, how do you think the girls, especially the Indian and the Asian girls, how are they sort of really developing in this particular sports as well?
I think when we talk about equality itself, that there's starting to be more and more opportunities for girls and women's itself. So that pathway is really, really clear. What the women's section, well, the actual program itself, have been very clear about their strategy. So the strategy is only just been, another new one has been released. So there's been a huge commitment. So you probably see now, while you're at home, there's the FA Player, which you can watch with live Premier League games at the highest level. BT Sport are now covering it. So it's trying to give girls inspiration around playing, but also you see more and more female coaches in the game as well. So we start to look at that wider piece, for not only from playing, you got coaching, but also it could be around officiating. So becoming a referee or a lineswoman, there's opportunities there. But what we are trying to say is that, look, opportunities are there. We're trying to closely link. So one of the programs that we have is a Wildcats program, 5 to 11s through the FA. I've been doing some work, particularly around in Birmingham, linked to under or diverse communities, and the girls have been taken to it unbelievably well. Now is the case of they're saying, now where do we go now? We want to try and create a team on that. So we've got to try and link the school environment, the school setting itself, education setting, to a community and club setting. So it could be, for instance, it could be jabs that we want to try and connect with the local school. So we start to create that community pathway, and you never know. It could be, you never know, one out of them could become playing for England, or it could be playing the Women's Super League.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And then at the same time as the inclusivity, we also have the disability side of things. And, we've, I think this is where we do need a lot of support. There's a lot of young people who have maybe some obvious signs of disability, but sometimes it's not so obvious, but they still need, more specialist coaching, and the game needs to sort of be able to accommodate their needs, their disability. What sort of support is the FA providing for the established and the community grassroots clubs, in order to make sure that we can also provide access and services for the disabled people to partake in football?
Yeah, brilliant. So I'm really, really passionate about this area. Why? Because I always feel that there's a lack of opportunities and people don't understand where to turn to. We know ourselves. I've had lived experience through my family members who had a disability, or disability, shall I say. So I've grown up seeing it, and it got to me to thinking, what am I going to give back now to this program and this community? So it's helped me a lot. I want to now drive this program. We're at probably the biggest disability sport, not only through football in the country, in terms of West Midlands area. I oversee that, and I've been lucky that I've been working with some fantastic people. So if you look at our opportunities, we've got recreational, so turn up and play centres, just people just drop in sessions. But also there's that element where people want competition and responsibility, playing on a traditional format. So we've got teams ranging from impairment specific. So it could be around amputees, blind, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, deaf, power chair, to your pan disability, which is your all disabilities playing together. So I've got a range of formats. What I would say around the program is called the People's Program, I call it, because it's all based on them. Wherever they want it, how they want it, is all I need to do is pretty much facilitate their needs and wants. And we know, for instance, I've got a passion around working with the community. So I know that there is a taboo subject around working with Southeast Asian and disability. on a personal level, or something that I've been really passionate about for the last probably 3-4 years, is that we want to try and educate and support individuals. And I've been to people's houses as well to support them as prime examples, where I'm trying to educate them, the parents, to say, look, get your son or daughter out of the house. We want to keep them physically active, and then that will help address their well-being, really. So we understand there's a
No,
big piece of work we're working towards. There is a talent program as well, so I not only work on the grassroots program, but also talent. Ultimate aim is that is pretty much players to wear the three lines one day. We even got Asian players in there, and I'm saying to the FA, "Are you aware of this?" So I'm quite fortunate. I work in so many different areas that I can highlight so many different role models that have not been platformed. So it's a case for me to educate everybody else as well. But fantastic. The more people I have on board, brilliantly. It will really, really help me out. But also, we can have a positive effect on the community. When you talk about inclusion, we're not only talking about the men's and boys, but also girls and women's, but also and as well as disability. That for me, that's what you call inclusion. That's where you bring the heart of the community together.
and I think this is where the FA, and the Birmingham County FA, need to be applauded. There's something called a lip service, and there's something called action, where you by actually are delivering what you're saying, and the fact that a undetected community who are hard to reach. They normally go below the radar. No one really thinks of them in any kind of a sort of a positive way. The Birmingham FA have now, and the FA have thought, yeah, we need to also create the same opportunity for them to also participate, irrespective of whatever disability they may have. And I certainly, as a coach, have had a number of parents and players come to me and say, look, we want to partake. And in the past, I've tried to sort of manage that. And sometimes, with my limited experience, I'm not able to, or we don't have the resources, we aren't able to incorporate them to our normal session. So now that I know that the Birmingham FA and yourself are leading on this particular campaign, I can reach out to my network within inner city Birmingham and across Birmingham and make sure that the young disabled people are just given every right to partake in football as well, and we will definitely make this happen.
100%. That's what equality is, and we're here to action that. As you said, I'm a big believer in less words, more action. So if you say to me, for instance, that you want to be, you have contacts, brilliant, bring them on, please, because I want to make this program the best and most diverse program in the country.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. And for those parents, guardians, in fact, players as well, if you are watching this show and you have been inspired by what Jazz has said, and you want to get involved in playing football, whether it's just for fun, whether you want to meet new people, whether you want to get fit, or whether you want to progress to the different levels of the professional, semi-professional football, then please, Jazz, is there a contact number? Is there an email that you can leave us with today?
Yeah, certainly. I can leave both really, the number and
Please do if you can. Do you want to just read it out?
to be honest, the contacts that I get in terms of outside hours, yeah, happy to contact back. But what I've started to realise in the last 12 months, I'm seeing more and more people within communities get in contact with me. For them, I think it's they're kind of pleasing that they see somebody in the community, and I'm here to help them out. So, yeah, I will definitely leave my contact details. Please do get in touch. If I can't be the person to give you the answer, I'll make sure I'll find somebody.
No, most definitely. I've just had I've just had a comment come through. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? What is the brother's name? His name is Jazz Bat from the Birmingham FA. I have a disabled child and I want him to get involved. So, on that particular Jazz, do you want to give your phone number or email that he can contact you on?
Yeah, maybe we can. If we speak probably offline, I'll give you my details, and then we can have a conversation after this.
Yeah, Mo has. If alternatively, if you want to leave your mobile number, I can pass that on to Jazz, and he will contact you probably tomorrow now, if that's okay, or maybe at another point during the working hours as well. So Mo, no, in fact, Mo, if you can give me your number, and I can give you Jazz's number offline if you don't. So I'll make that happen if that's all right. So Jazz, we're now coming to the end of the show. If you can, maybe just if you can talk about inclusivity on disability, on women, on Asian, and also Pakistani Muslims across the board. Give us your final message as to what can we expect over the next few years, and what's your aspirations in terms of us coming and appearing at a very high elite level.
Well, there's certainly going to be opportunities now in the next 4 years. I said it's probably the best time to be involved with the FA, whether internally or externally. We have the coach placement program, which is minority ethnic coaches getting involved with 10 professional clubs across the country. They'll be working with them for a year, so 12 months. We say we ain't got enough coaches through underrepresentation, but we will do now through the coach placement program. And also a Muslim brother of mine is now heading that up from the FA. So great to see representation as well in that sense. We also have the mentoring program, which will be around diversity and inclusion. So that's a big target in itself. So each county will have targets, and yes, people will think, oh, targets are there just for numbers' sake. There's going to be accountability now, so that's a start for us. So from coaches from level 1, level 2, and UEFA B, there'll also be targets around minority ethnic, around refereeing. So there's loads of opportunities there in the FA. You're just trying to find out from yourselves. If you're not involved, please get involved. If you are involved, fantastic. Let's get talking. We want to find out more about your programs, your projects, your vision to support the wider community stuff. But what I would say, we're highlighting on the topic around Asian in football, is that once we see measure and accountability, a lot of people are finger pointing at the FA. Sadly, they don't have they're not the decision makers around the next Premier League star being on board. There's going to be answers, hopefully, with the Premier League and the EFL. But you never know, the representation around coaches could support the players. So it could be that individual Southeast Asian coach has a clear connection with that individual, that player. Whether there's cultural barriers that can be removed because the individual can connect together from coaches and players. So that was going to support that, but also around mentoring, around grassroots clubs. More and more we can drive from the very bottom, because we're looking at Premier League player, let's be honest. That's that. We can't build a house without putting the bricks first, and then we've got to put the roof on top. So, but what I would say is that we can't talk about this topic in the next 10 years. It's going on too long, and we've got to make action. So, for instance, now, after the Greg Clark's comment, I've got a meeting with a professional club next week, and we're talking about Asians in football. So we're going to really put it onto them in terms of accountability and measure, but we're going to have a clear plan about that. So as I said before, it's too easy to put words on social media and criticise. Everybody can do that, but we're going to make action around that. So people from the executive team to head of academy, we're speaking next week. Hopefully that we can start to put a plan in place and what that looks like around the agreed measure and action. So we want X amount of players in the academy, and then by this year we want an Asian player in the first team. Until then, we're just plucking data, and we're pretty much going from no strategy from A to Z without thinking about B, C, D, and E, etc.
Thank you, Jazz. Really positive note to end the show on. We started about just realizing that there's a lot of work that needs to be at a hierarchy level at the FA. But as always, I think what Jazz has said is we have to take accountability ourselves. As coaches, as players, as clubs at the grassroots level. Let's continue to do what we are doing. Let's keep on coaching, developing these players, get them ready for that next stage. And now with some of the initiatives that the FA and the Jazz are putting into place in terms of some of the metrics that they have to develop or include certain players in terms of percentage by this time, I think there's a real accountability. There's really outcome measures that are now being put onto clubs, and that's what we want to see in order for us to break through this perceived glass ceiling that we have with Asians and football. For those of you that are listening, really thank you for all your questions and comments. And all I would say, Jazz, we are here for you. Anything that we can do to support you, whether it's girls football, whether it's disabled football, or just giving you the talent that we have within the Asian community, whether it's Indian, Pakistani, Bengali, Sri Lankan, across the board, we have a real talent. We just have to keep on persevering, having that positive positive mindset in order for that to happen. And like I said, what I do want is for there to be a regular track of players coming through before I certainly give up my coaching badges and sort of retire from the lovely game that is football. On that note, please, as always, take care of yourselves, look after each other, and until next week, God bless.